Hey team, welcome to this week's drawing challenge. This is our third flower for our weekly task, and this is definitely the most complicated, but we are going to draw a grid around it, or at least a square, and this is something you should probably spend 15 to 20 minutes on minimum. But if you're enjoying it, you'll find that time goes really quickly, and hopefully you're bringing in all the skills that we've learned throughout the year. So grab your pencils and let's get started.
So to start this drawing, it's much more complicated than the previous ones we've done. So I don't want us to go freehand. I actually want us to try and draw rectangles around it. So we've done this before. It just means you're looking for the tallest part of the flower, the widest part, and the lowest part. And this is really going to help in quite a complicated drawing like this. Another thing you'll want to do when you start drawing your outlines is thinking about the negative space. So this rectangle around the flower will help you to approach it in a different way. So the negative space is the space that is not the flower. So it's going to be super helpful for drawing the outline because it is complicated. And look, if you end up drawing an extra petal because you got a bit lost, that's absolutely fine. So long as it's kind of bending the right way, or it's a similar shape to the one next to it, then it will look just fine. So once you are happy with your negative space and you're happy with the outline, we're going to start the shading. So you'll start with your 2B, and you're just going to look for the little pockets of color. This is all over the flower. It's all over the edge, and it comes from the center as well. So we're going to treat that as a shade, and the lightest part of the petal, we're just going to leave that for now, or maybe when it's a bit darker, you will add a little bit of shading. So for something like this that's complicated, I get really bored going one petal at a time, and often I do jump around. So if you see that happening, that's because I was like, I need to move on. But I will come back to it. So if you find that you want to try one petal and then jump around to another, then by all means, that might be quite good. If not, you can just go one petal at a time. Just make sure you're looking at each individual petal more than you're drawing it, because if you're guessing as you go around, it's actually it's not really going to work. We'll be able to tell as a viewer that you just got lazy, and we don't want that. You put so much effort into the outline. Now is a really good time to actually put some background on. The petals are extremely light, so having a bit of a background will help to push them forward and stretch that contrast from dark to light. So why not do something that's not too tricky and pop a little background on? So because this is a light drawing, a dark background will go a long way, and I think it's a good idea to do this fairly early in this stage, because we want to see the contrast on our petals. So if we get a medium grey background on there, then we can really see how good or how bad our drawing is. And when I say bad, I never mean bad, because there's no such thing as a bad drawing. It just means it needs a little bit of work. So it's a good idea to get the background on there and then work on the underneath petal. Now, I do think this one is a little bit easier, but I think if you start with a harder one on the top, you will find the easier one much easier, because it's like going into the military, right? You do all these crazy fitness things, and then you come out and you're like, oh my God, I'm so unfit. And then you go to a gym and you're like, wow, I didn't even notice how fit I was. And that's like being an artist. You don't realize how good you are until you try something that's a bit easier that you would have originally found very difficult. Now, this drawing is very chaotic, so I think it looks better with a smoother background. So you'll use your 2H to smoothen the background. I think that'll look really good. And make sure you're sharpening your corners. So it's a very crisp petal. It's a very fine line between each shape. So making sure that your edges are nice and sharp, your 2H will just help that. And then you can go over the center points or the dark points of your petals with your 8B. This is going to help to push that contrast and just bring all of those final pieces together. So spend a little bit of time just working your way around, and a well fucking done. Big pat on the back, mate, because this is tricky. So there we have it, a very, very complicated flower, and I hope you're proud of it, and let's see what we can do for next week. If you have any requests, do let me know and I'll see what I can do. All right, team, have a good one, and I'll see you next time.